What's going on, everybody? We have the new aero kit, obviously, which has been tested with the Honda guys, and now we're the Chevy group trying it out for ourselves. Feels different, you know. I wouldn't say it feels drastically different from a feel standpoint. I think this type of oval will be less of a change than some of the other tracks with the aero configurations, but there's small differences just running by ourselves. I'm sure I'll have more of a feeling difference when I get to run in traffic. That's only by myself where I've not noticed as big of a shift. But you know, we're just working through different aero sweeps, understanding, you know, what it does with where we were last year and what it's going to do with where we're probably going to go as a series going into next year as far as downforce levels and where the series is going to want us at. So we're just trying to work through that. Understand the differences with the car and gather data so that we can go into the off season and at least have something to work on. So that's kind of been our objective this morning. Yeah.
As the champion, do you want to be here for this test, or was this something that was thrust upon you by Joe?
I'd happily do every test. You know, we got 3 guys and we only had 1 car, so I can't do everything. You know, we have to split it up. But if it was up to me, I'd run every test. So I guess there you go.
Talk about some of the differences that you feel on the oval versus the old car, the new car.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, I think there'll be big swings depending on the tracks we go to. I really think street courses are going to be a big difference next year, probably the biggest difference for the aero kit from a feel standpoint. Road courses will be thrown in there. I think this type of track so far, from what I've felt, has not been a massive shift in the balance, but the car also wasn't doing anything, you know, too evil last year. I think in traffic the car will be quite a bit different, but I've not experienced that yet, so I can't really speak to it. I've just seen a couple comments from guys like Dixon and Hinch, so as far as that, I'm not sure. But running by ourselves, I think the car, you know, seems to be a little more consistent feeling. You feel more confident, and when it's doing something, it continues to do it in the middle of the corner, which is a good thing. But other than that, I haven't noticed a ton of big differences yet, so I don't really actually have a ton to say about it. Yeah.
Scott was here. He said there's like 1,500 pounds less of downforce.
Yeah, not that much. Yeah.
Is there less grip in these cars?
Yeah. There's less grip. I mean, the tough thing is the track still has a ton of grip. You know, it's not that old. This new surface is a year old, so you know, trying to figure out how to make the cars more difficult to drive, how to make the tire degrade more. I think that will still be a challenge here just because of the surface, you know, and that's just the case with a brand new surface. It's smooth, it's got tons of grip, and I think that will be similar next year, but we will get the cars in a more difficult spot. I think by ourselves they won't feel drastically different, but in packs they will feel quite a bit different, and we'll try and spread things out a little bit from what we've had last year. You know, I think all of us drivers, we would prefer to have the most difficult car possible so that we can make a better job with the setup. I can do a better job driving the car than the guy next to me. That would be what's preferred from us as far as what the car is going to do, and I think we'll get there. Just on a day like today, it's really cool out. The track's really cool. It's difficult to make the car super difficult today, so I don't think we're going to personally see that ourselves right now.
Josef, first of all, belated congratulations on what you did.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
I know I'm always late.
You're all right.
Question, if I may. First, has your life changed in any significant amount because of what you accomplished? And how do you feel about, I don't know if the right term is burden or responsibility that comes with the title and being an American in the series?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say the second one first. I mean, there's only so much you can do. You know, I'm trying to do the best job I can to help promote the series, and we all love IndyCar racing. We want it to be, you know, as big as possible as far as the sport goes, and I think we're getting there. But it's going to take a group. You know, obviously there's a responsibility as the champion to try and, you know, relay the message of what IndyCar is all about, and show people why IndyCar is so cool, why it's some of the best racing on the planet, and you should check it out. But it's going to take all of us, and you know, it's going to take the series, it's going to take all the drivers, it's going to take the decisions that we make as far as the race cars, this new car that we're putting out. All those things are really going to make the difference. It's not going to come down to just one guy, in my opinion. So I feel the responsibility of helping with that cause and pushing IndyCar forward. But I don't feel the pressure that it's all on me, because I don't think it is. I think it's going to be a lot more factors than just that. And then what was your first question?
Well, I mean, has your life changed? You find like you can't go in a restaurant?
Oh, no. Racing's funny. You get like this, I guess if you want to call it this, it's like a temporary fame. You come to the racetrack and race fans are there and they know who you are, then yeah, you get sort of that like famous vibe. But, if I'm at home in the grocery store, it's I don't get bothered that often. There's a couple of people that watch IndyCar racing that I've met that are like, hey, it's really cool to see you, or you see people at restaurants, but it's not, it's not like I'm Brad Pitt walking down the street. So it's not that level of difficulty. But I think within motorsports, it brings a lot of comfort. Us winning the championship this year, it certainly brings me more comfort being a part of Team Penske, and you sort of naturally feel more at ease within the group. I've certainly felt that over the last month and a half, and it makes me really excited to get to work again this off season and try and do it again. You feel like you deserve to be there with the team and working hard to try and do it again, and that's kind of the feeling that's changed for me.
When you went to Coda, did people know you there for doing the Formula 1 race?
Yeah. There was plenty of people that said hi to me at Coda. There was a lot of fans there actually that were there to watch the F1 race, but watched IndyCar too, which I loved to see. Obviously it's there's very similar sports. They're both major open wheel championships, and I think there's a lot of people in America that if you like IndyCar, you like Formula 1. I knew that's how I was growing up. I watched both IndyCar and F1 growing up as a kid, so I think there's a lot of fans in North America that feel that way, kind of like I did. So it was nice to see that. It was good to see another race and see Formula 1 again. I haven't been to a race in 3 years, and seeing a lot of IndyCar fans that were taking that in, that was good to see.
Get any job offers?
No job offers, but it's I wasn't poking around too much for that. I'm pretty committed to my job with Team Penske, and if something came across my desk though, definitely I would happily look at it, but there's nothing at the moment.
Can you comment about the look of these cars compared to the car that's gone?
Yeah, I think they look amazing, to be honest. Amazing, that's a terrible word to use. Everyone uses the word amazing. They look sleek to me. I like them. Everything getting lower, I think, is preferred. The side pods getting pushed forward. Those are the big aesthetic differences that we really wanted. There's more crash structure in the way of the driver with the side pods coming forward, but it looks like more of an open wheel car. The shaping of the side pod looks like a proper open wheel car. The engine cover coming lower. Not really having a blow through roll hoop. Signifying that's a turbocharged car. It's stuff like those little things I think make it look really, really good. And I think on the road and street course version, it's very good looking, and it looks really sleek on the oval version too. But like I said, those really the side pod and just lowering everything, I think has made a big difference to make it look great.
How difficult is it to find a baseline for this car when obviously as you alluded to, the temperatures of the track, temperatures of the ambient aren't going to be the same that we're going to see in June next year? Yeah,
I mean, for us, it's about gathering crucial data that we need to go back to the shop and kind of dissect and understand what the car is actually doing and where we're going to want to run it. So, specific setup work, I don't think we'll get through a ton of that today. We're more just data gathering. It's sort of a boring test for us. We're going to do some running with Ed. That'll get exciting, but the stuff we've done this morning, it's all kind of boring, just data collection. That's really all it is. So as far as setup specific work, I don't think we'll get into that until we come back the next time, which I think we have another test that we're going to come here in the spring. So when we get to that test, then we'll really dive into the mechanical balance and what we're doing with that setup. I think then we'll really start figuring that out, but probably not a bunch today.
One of the things that had been mentioned from a lot of the drivers was some of the new guys coming in don't necessarily get a lot of testing before they enter the series, and we see Spencer, he's only got 22 starts under his belt, but he's been really there for all the testing thus far for this 2018 car. So can you just talk a little bit about getting a chance to have a young driver like him continue to kind of grow where we haven't been able to see that in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all want more testing, selfishly as drivers, but for someone like Spencer, Ed's really doing it the right way. Ed's pretty much had Spencer in the car every test, so he's probably getting the most testing out of anybody this offseason, but that's a good thing. He needs more in his development stage. He's going into his young years still. He's not a veteran of the sport, so giving him more time is important, and we've talked about tires and how many tires we give to rookies or not throughout a season, and that might change. But yeah, I'm definitely in favor of figuring out a way to get rookies more testing. Selfishly as a driver, I'd like more testing. We all would, but rookies, that's really what will favor them is getting more seat time. You can't substitute race weekend testing. When you're at a race with everyone there, and then you run an actual race weekend, you can't really substitute that. But just more time inside the car, especially for someone that doesn't know ovals very well, like someone like Spencer, it's a big difference. So I think figuring out a way to keep evolving that and getting these guys more time, it's a good thing. I'm in favor of that.
You had a pretty rough wreck here in 16.
Yeah.
Like your shoulder was damaged. Yeah, 2 weeks later you were racing. When you come back here this year for June and this one, do you have anything you do? Any qualms about coming back here, or is that just part of racing and you knew it? Because it's another track.
I ran here this year, so yeah. Yeah, it won't be any different than this year, I want to say. So no real thoughts towards it. Yeah.
That was a rough one, I thought.
Yeah, it was bad. But we move on. You have to. In this sport, if you don't move on, then you're not gonna be able to do it. So that's where I've been at with it. Yeah.
You're testing here, ironically, with Ed Carpenter Racing, your alma mater.
Yeah.
What's your status with Ed these days, and does he consider you his greatest accomplishment, or what?
Oh, I don't know about that, but we're good buddies. I know Ed very well. I know that team very well, so I've got great relationships there. A lot of respect for what they do. Mainly because I've been there and I know how they work. So I know they're a very formidable opponent. They're fun to run against. They're difficult to beat, especially on tracks like Texas here. They really got their stuff together. So it's fun to be testing with them. Obviously, we're here with Chevrolet, so we're both working, as two different units to try and help Chevy push forward, so that when we come to next year, we're prepared. But Ed and me have always been good. We're still good buddies today, and he's been a great friend and team owner in the past to me.
So it's your last run at a track this year. Any more testing before the holiday season?
I think we'll be in Sebring in December, so that'll be our last test. We got a couple days down there with everybody, and then we'll be done. So I'm actually pretty excited to get into February. Once we get into more to the hardcore testing, where it's crunch time. We gotta start figuring things out pretty heavily before the season. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Josef, will you have number 1 on your car next year?
Yes, yeah, we'll run the number 1. Mm-hmm.
It's a fun video.
Yeah, there is video out there, yeah. But yes, yeah, we will.
Talk about this car versus the old car and kind of just the testing this morning as a whole. Yeah,
there's obviously a lot changed since we were here before. It's still figuring it out, to be honest. Compared to Phoenix, it's not as different here, but it's definitely still different. It has a different feel. The way you drove it at Phoenix was probably a little more different than here, but just it makes downforce in such a different way that the way that you sense the feedback and stuff from the car, to me, is a little different. But as far as how it's going to affect the type of racing one way or the other, don't really know yet. Josef and I have been kind of each on our own program this morning, and even when we've been on the track together, we've been kind of opposite ends. So hopefully we'll be running together a little bit here after lunch and get a better feel for kind of what the differences are in traffic.
And Spencer, will this car eventually require a different tire? And Scott Dixon said he felt the tire they brought for the Honda test was too hard and they're looking for more degradation. Is that what you guys are looking for, the drivers are bargaining for?
I don't know. Sometimes I think that's a good thing. Sometimes it's not necessarily a good thing. It just depends on the track. I think whatever it takes to have high quality racing like what we've had here. I thought the racing here last year was quite good. It was too far for some people, but to me it wasn't a product of the racing as much a product as some of how the guys were driving that caused the problems, more so than the style of racing. But definitely the tire last year didn't degrade much at all. So, I think that it could change. I know, Phoenix, when we tested there, I would say it's for sure going to require a different tire there. but the downforce numbers are drastically different there. Here, if IndyCar and Firestone want to make a change to get a little more degradation, I think they can, but I think the tire, you know, the tire that we're running now, which is what we raced last year, is, you know, is in the window. You know, I think it would be a tire that we could go put on a good race with.
How much less downforce does this car produce compared to last year?
I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but it's, you know, at the maximum downforce that we can run on this, it's still less than the downforce we qualified with last year, I guess is the best way to give you some perspective, which, you know, we raced a lot more than we qualified. And that's in speedway configuration. and road course configuration, it's even a bigger difference, but you know, generally with this car, I think it's safe to say the maximum downforce numbers are less than what we've been qualifying at places in the past.
Scott thought it was like 1,500 pounds. Is that too much, or is that?
1,500 pounds less? I don't know if it's that much less here.
I think on the road course kit, it might be something like that.
On the road course short oval package, I think that's probably a fairly accurate number, but here it's not that high.
Hey, you, as an owner, you played a major role in Josef's development to grow up to be the champion as he was this year. When he won the championship, I was curious what you felt. Was it, did you think, like, well, yeah, I knew this kid could do it, or was there any pangs of regret he didn't do it? He did it with another team.
Yeah, I'd say all of the above. For sure, I knew he was going to be a champion someday. That's why we tried to keep him as hard as we did. Josef and I were good friends. I was obviously happy for him. You know, you're happy for him. You're envious of him. You know, you wish we could have done it together, because I know that we could have. But mostly happy for him. You know, I know how hard he's worked for that. You know, when we were teammates and he drove for us, we trained together, we spent a lot of time together. So I was happy for him, proud of him, jealous of him, all of the above. You know, now focused on getting Spencer to that point, and hopefully he'll stay with us and not go against us.
As you know, Josef has a lot of appealing qualities. You recognize those earlier on. So he's also an American. Does the fact that an appealing guy who's an American, does this series need a champ like that, or can it only help with the series to have that kind of guy?
I mean, certainly he's going to be a good champion, but you know, I don't. It doesn't mean that, you know, Elio probably could have been an unbelievable champion too if he ever would have had the opportunity. So it doesn't hurt that a young up and coming. You know, I think it's more of the fact that it's a guy that is young and has established himself, and as long as he wants to have a home in IndyCar, he's probably going to have one for a long time. So I think that part of it's probably more important in my mind than him being American, which, you know, is a bonus. But you know, I think the fact that you're developing a champion and a name that should be around for a long time, I think is as important as the fact that he's American.
Spencer, when you see what Josef did.
I mean, a lot of people think he's foreign. I think Josef and all the pronunciations.
Spencer, when you see how Josef developed with this team and what he became, is that, like your boss said, develop you into a champion? Is that, I don't know, motivation or impetus, or get you excited about what you can accomplish here?
You know, I think I'm very excited about the possibilities, you know, independent of what Josef did with the team. I think we have a very strong group of people, and I think I'm learning every weekend from everyone here and improving every weekend. So that excites me. And obviously, you know, I've looked up to Josef for a long time. I've known him since we were racing go-karts. So he was always a few steps ahead of me. And, you know, obviously all the guys that haven't won a championship would like to kind of emulate that. So, you know, obviously it's a guy to look to, and, you know, I've been able to work with him a little bit closer than most people last season. So it's just something that, yeah, I would like to have the same kind of career progression, I guess. But, you know, I think we're excited for ourselves here at Ed Carpenter Racing to see what we can do.
Spence, you've only got 22 starts in the series, only 2 of them on ovals, being at Indy. Just talk about the opportunity to get more track time with all this testing that's gone, because you've really been the guy spearheading this effort in many ways. So, you know, trying to progress, get better for next year, et cetera?
Yeah, it's been great. It's been something that I've never really been a part of before, you know, developing a somewhat of a new car with the team. And it's, you know, on the road course side of things, it's been all my feedback. And, you know, maybe hopefully it's a good thing. Hopefully it's not a bad thing when we get to the first race. But it's just been a cool experience for me, kind of to, you know, step up in a full season role, but also kind of step up in a development way as well. And, you know, obviously it's nice to be here on the ovals and have Ed driving the car a lot. He's obviously got a ton of experience and someone that I can ask questions to and relate to a lot more than when we have been doing our road course testing so far. So it's really cool to have that, and yeah, just excited to go oval racing again. It's been a while since I've consistently driven on ovals, and you know, I think it'll only help that I'll be in the car, you know, throughout the whole season rather than, you know, here and there.
And then Ed, we talked at Sonoma about last year or this past season and just kind of the difficulties that y'all had. But obviously with this new, how do I say this, being one of the teams that's part of the manufacturer test, I mean, how vital is that, knowing what y'all are trying to get back to?
I think, I mean, it is helpful. You know, anytime you're on track, you're going to learn something. You know, things have the potential to change too. So, you know, it isn't always helpful, but I would say whether we're going to be a part of this or not, I think it's an exciting time for us. You know, because I think the quality of people that we have on the team, we've done fairly well in the past when we've gone into new eras. You know, so I think that's when, you know, you can really spotlight your team's ability and things like that, and believe in the group that we have, especially now, to be able to capitalize on the opportunities that this new car and platform is going to give us this year.
And is that the same thing as saying that the new car narrows the gap between teams like yours and Penske and Ganassi?
I don't think it necessarily narrows the gap. I mean, I think it probably has the potential to open it up initially. You know, I think, you know, you're relearning a car, tires are going to be changing, there's a lot of change. So what it does is an opportunity for whoever, you know, does the best job over the off season, makes the best decisions with their resources and development plan to get off to a quick start. So to me, there's an opportunity to have separation early, whereas, you know, the series was, you know, even though Penske was pretty strong last year, it was still super competitive to the point where, you know, there was pretty much a car from every team that was capable of winning races last year. You know, I think when you go into these new eras, you're going to see someone get a handle on this new car quicker than some of the other guys, and that's what I'm hopeful for.
Can you guys comment about the look of the car compared to last year?
I think it looks great. You know, I like the fact that it's a little sleeker and faster looking again. Not to say I didn't like the way the previous car looked, but the biggest thing for me, I like that the rear bumper pods are gone. Like, personally, I think being able to see the rear tires from behind on one of these cars is one of the best angles. So, you know, that's the biggest thing I like about it.
Yeah, similar. I mean, I think it looks a lot cooler, you know, sleeker. It looks more racy, in my opinion. You know, it doesn't have so many things kind of hanging off it and all these winglets, and, you know, maybe a little bit simpler as well for people to kind of relate to, rather than, you know, last year just seemed like it was, some places specifically, it was just kind of a little overkill with all these bits and pieces on it.
Ed, just get you to kind of talk about, obviously we're not going to find a baseline setup for the June race. Temperatures are different, et cetera, and we're still learning the new car, but what exactly are y'all working on today? What is the focus whenever y'all come and test the 2018 car like today?
I mean, there's different things. You know, certainly the weather is going to be different, and we've seen that in the past here. You know, you can come here, and even some of the years where we had huge tire degradation races and guys running 210 miles an hour and other guys running 190 miles an hour during the race, we'd tested here in the preseason and had 0 tire drop off. So it's not a total indicator of what the cars are going to do when it's 90 plus degrees out and windy like it is every June. As far as what we're doing today, we're doing some work for IndyCar to try to learn as much as we can about what we think will be a good downforce level to come back with. There were some Honda cars here a month or less ago, so we're kind of going through and expanding on what they did for IndyCar. We have the ability to work on some things for ourselves, just learn the car, and then we're doing other things with Chevrolet.
As you just mentioned, like every team in a car had a chance to win last season. The series is getting a lot of good young talent, such as your man here. Racing was good, I thought, last year. Is this series almost entering like a golden era or a real exceptional era for the competition?
I think so. I feel like we've got a lot of momentum. If you look at the data and the metrics, a lot of, whether it's not just motorsports but all sports, but especially motorsports, not every series is experiencing growth in TV ratings and attendance, and really since 2013, maybe you could make an argument that it hasn't grown at a fast enough rate, but nonetheless it's growing. Last year I think at venue attendances were up just about everywhere. TV numbers were pretty steady and good. So I hope we're entering an era of resurgence to get back to what other people consider a golden era.
Is it like when you get up each morning exciting to go to work now? Or?
I've always been excited to go to work. This is what I'm passionate about. But yeah, it's fun that I do think it's getting more attention and it's less quiet the off seasons, even though they're still long. I feel like there's enough going on, especially the past couple of years, that we don't totally drop out of the news cycle, at least at home anyway. But yeah, I think the series is doing a good job, and the plan to get to this point was one that was well thought out and well developed. I think much more so than when the new car came out initially in 2012. So I'm happy with the way things are going and the leadership team that's in place.
I guess the last one out of me would be, you're the only owner we're going to get the chance to talk to today. So just your perspective on the benefits of this new car coming out, just from an owner's view.
I don't, there was so much negativity towards the old car. I'm the type of guy that's not going to oversell anything. So that's probably my biggest worry, is that we're overselling this car from what it's going to do to the racing to how much money it's going to save the owners. Like, it's been expensive as long as I've been doing this, since 2012. No matter what we do, we never reduce the budgets by that much. So I'm optimistic, but at the same time, I try to be a pretty realistic guy. So it's too early to honestly say, because there's only 4 of us that even has the parts at this point. So there's a lot that we need to understand still, and a lot we have to learn to know what the full impact's going to be, short term and long term. Certainly, the IndyCar's done a good job to try to make it as affordable as it can be. But anytime you're changing over from one car to another, it's going to cost you money. The kit pieces are inexpensive, but we're also updating the whole electronics and data systems on every single car we have. So this year is going to be more expensive than last year, but that doesn't mean that we won't make it up in the coming years. But they're heading in a good direction, but it's not just instant savings. It never works that way when you totally change a car.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thanks.